invite you to stand and join me in the pledge, and then Councilman Randall Harriman will bring the invocation.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all the blessings you've given our city. I pray that you'll be with us tonight as we try to make the best decisions for our city, and we pray that you guide us in that way, Lord. Please help us tonight and guide our hearts. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Randall. All right. I will now call this regular meeting of the Springdale City Council to order. This is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. And we will start things off by asking our city clerk, Saber Jeffus, to call the roll.
Mayor Sprouse.
Here.
Brian Powell.
Here.
Amelia Taldo. Jeff Watson. Mike Overton.
Here.
Mike Lawson.
Here.
Rex Bailey. Randall Harriman.
Here.
Mark Fujers.
Here.
City Attorney Garrett Harlan.
Here.
All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. Item 4 is the regular item on each regular city council meeting agenda to hear comments from our residents. The council will hear your comments at this time if it is concerning an item that is not on tonight's agenda. Any agenda items will be discussed at the time they are being presented. So if there's anyone that would like to address the council concerning an item that is not already on tonight's agenda, you're welcome to come to the microphone. Please state your name and address and keep your comments brief. We will have a 3-minute timer, and council will take no action tonight on what you bring forward. Yes, sir.
Sorry. Am I good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Richard Koger, Springdale resident,
What's your address, Rick?
4310 South Thompson. Let's
Okay.
see here. So I have a question regarding the flock camera systems. Let's see. Okay, Mayor, you wrote me on August 18th, and you wrote, quoting you, "This is data that we own, not flock." In that sentence, what does own mean to you?
You can make your statement, and I'm not going to get in the back and forth with questions and answers.
So you're not gonna respond to
Not
your
during
statement?
public comments, no.
Okay, so not going to respond to that. Okay, well, let's see. Well, the contract says, section 4.1 of the contract, the city grants flock a limited, non-exclusive, royalty-free, irrevocable, worldwide license to use that data. And 4.3, a perpetual right to use and distribute what it derives, including training its AI. Can the city revoke that license? Question for the city attorney, maybe to get back to me later. Does Flock use Springdale residents' data for any purpose of its own? For example, training its machine learning software. Section 4.3 says, yes, Arkansas Code 12-12-1804 says plate data shall not be used for any other purpose. And 12-12-1802 defines that data to include anything derived from the system. I'd like the city to review that. It seems like it probably doesn't line up with the law very good. Now, also, I noticed in the committee meeting, you guys talked about Tyler Technologies, saving you money, saving you time, all these things. But I noticed when I came to the budget meeting here, Tyler Technologies servers are done. The software doesn't work there anymore. You're gonna have to buy a bunch of new stuff. So that wasn't considered even a year ago whenever you were there. And the point is that these guys it's like AT&T. They're always gonna have another problem to sell you a solution to. It's not gonna be cheap. It's gonna be a next problem and a next solution over and over again. I'm sure you've already started to see that pattern, and try canceling the contract with AT&T. It's not, Okay, so there's section 11.15. It's, lets the city council end this agreement with 30 days notice and no penalty by simply not funding it next year. That's not an attack on you all, it's a way out. That's an exit to the contract itself. And I'm asking the city council to take it up before the next $177,000 payment. Also, let's go into a little bit of security issues. 4,500 major infrastructure attacks last year, just last year. AI, all this stuff is coming up. Every one of you, at least some of you all have said that you don't understand the technology and all these things. So how are you going to get the tech and protect us if you don't understand it, And that's all I got, but I hope you take it under advisement.
Okay, well, you timed that just right, Richard. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Spencer Ordonez, 508 Maple Drive, longtime Springdale resident, candidate for city council. I'm going to read what I wrote because I like to ramble. So I'm here tonight to talk about Springdale's automated license plate readers, short for ALPR cameras. I believe the city has made a decision without informing the public and giving adequate time for input, whether we want that kind of surveillance in our community, let alone it be paid for with tax dollars. This has often been the case with Flock and other ALPR companies like Axon. They sneak into cities, often without public input under the guise of safety and making policing easier. It seems that the current trend in the cities that are around us is getting rid of their APLR camera systems. I would say it's not a trend, but an awakening of people who have had enough. As I talk about this, the average has been around Flock. Tonight, I would like to focus not just them, but also the other companies. And when I say Flock in this, I'm talking about them as well. In the past year, we have seen various examples of police holding innocent drivers at gunpoint, handcuffing 12-year-olds, and tracking ex-partners with these systems. I believe our police department has been led to believe that this technology can assist them, but much of what has been stated is standard vendor marketing that omits critical technical, legal, and privacy realities about Flock safety ecosystems. Before our city continues expanding these private surveillance networks, residents deserve the full picture. We know that Flock's network of cameras use image recognition and machine learning, can share data with police departments, and can be integrated into predictive policing platforms like Palantir. They do not just take a picture of the license plate, but actually make a digital fingerprint of what the back of the vehicle shows. Every scratch, sticker, or identifying mark is attached to that said license plate. And as of this month, every ALPR camera now has the ability to run full video. So now everything in front of the camera is searchable, vehicles, people, etc. This is a quote from their chief strategy officer. Flock customers don't have to do a thing or pay a thing. This will be a no-cost software update we pushed over the cloud. Standard Flock vendor contracts have historically granted the company broad perpetual rights to license to distribute aggregated data across law enforcement networks. That means that whatever the Springdale Police Department thinks, it does not control the data captured by these cameras, and that is something that needs to be realized and scrutinized. There's a lot of Fourth Amendment protections that are being sorry.
Sorry, Spencer.
No, it's fine. I do have a handout. Can I pass it to y'all?
Sure.
And it's got a QR code on here.
Sure.
You can scan. Okay.
Happy to take it. Let me just say something. And Chief, I don't know if you want to speak to this tonight. I know you're going to be speaking to this at some point, but there can be huge differences in the way different cities handle their relationship with Flock and the relationship with the data, how they store it, how people access it. And I believe we've got those safeguards in place. Now with technology, there may be gaps that come up from time to time. They're identified and we'll fix them then. But a lot of what people are assuming that the information we get through those Flock cameras is just not accurate. So, Chief, do you want to address any of that tonight, or do you want to come back? I'm happy for you to come back later. But I do think some things have been said that it would be good to put a rest to right now.
Absolutely. I can speak after public comment's over. I can speak at the end of the meeting during department head comment, whatever you'd like me to do, Mayor.
Wait till after. Let's wait till the end, and you can do it during department head comments. And I'm sure you'll be putting out more information through the PD, and because there's just a lot of things being said that I think need some accuracy put to them. All right, thank you. You've already had your time. You had your 3 minutes, Richard. Thank you. I'm going to invite anyone else to the podium, and please, you've had your time, and I know how to run a meeting. I really do. All right, anyone else want to speak concerning an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Anyone? All right, we'll close public comment time, and we'll move on to item 5, which is the approval of minutes.
With no corrections or additions, I move that the minutes be approved.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item 6, a public hearing. I'm going to turn it over to our city attorney, Garrett Harlan.
So item 6 is a public hearing that's required, and this relates to item 11, which is a petition to vacate a utility easement. But right now, the public hearing's open. Is there anybody here to speak on that petition to vacate the utility easement? Okay, so the hearing's closed, and we'll take this back up as item 11.
All right, thank you, Garrett. Now, we will move now to the next item, which is, I don't have it pulled up on my iPad. Procedural motions. What's your pleasure there, council?
I move for A and B.
We have a motion and a second for both A and B. I'll call for the vote. Speaking of technology. Yours isn't working? And what's your vote, Rex? Okay, thank you.
Passes 7-0.
IT, if you got a quick fix for that, well, let's come fix Rex's console. He can vote. All right, item 8, Finance Committee Chairman Jeff Watson. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. We only had one item forwarded from the Finance Committee. It was forwarded with recommendation for approval. The title to this resolution is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for professional services with McGrath Human Resources Group for compensation, consulting services, and for other purposes. And Anna's going to address this.
Good evening. Yes, you don't get Colby or Catherine, you get me tonight. Yes, this resolution, I know they kind of gave a brief overview last week. The previous company that HR has used in the past, the Johansson Group, has been bought out. So via an RFP process, a request for proposals, they have chosen a new consultant to move forward with, McGrath Human Resources Group, in an amount not to exceed $59,600. And this is essentially how they do their market studies, it analyzes the job descriptions that we have in place. Just a note, this will be paid for out of the admin professional services
Yeah, this has
account
been
line item.
budgeted,
It is
right.
it's a budgeted item.
I move this resolution be adopted.
Second.
We're not getting any votes, guys. There we go. We'll get yours verbally, or Rex. Go ahead. Let's get us the results, guys.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item 9, Police and Fire Committee and Chairman Brian Powell. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. We had one item come before us at last committee meeting concerning Tyler Technologies, moving from an on-premises installation to a cloud-based. And Chief is here to talk to us about that. I'll read the title of the resolution as he's coming up. A resolution amending the 2026 budget of the City of Springdale, Arkansas, and authorizing an agreement with Tyler Technologies Incorporated for the migration of the city's public safety software to a software as a service platform. Chief?
Good evening. Chief Holt actually has all the answers, so I'm just kidding, I'm putting him on the spot. As we stated last week, our current software version is 2.5 years out of date. Our existing infrastructure and the servers are too old to run an update. Our current current software version has reached end of life in April of this year. Eventually, here in 2 more years, Tyler is going to push everyone to cloud hosting. And so we're asking jointly to be moved to the cloud now.
You read the resolution? Okay, thank you.
Chief, could you talk about the monies involved in this and how that is being paid for?
Yes, sir. So, fire department, I believe, was able, $35,000 they were able to find from their budget. We found $15,000. And off the top of my head, IT, I believe, found $130,000 from their capital fund. And then I believe they had some ARPA money left over. That left us about $84,000 short. So what we're asking is to take that from the unrestricted general fund and amend our budget to add that 84.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but this was a budget consideration. We're short of the amount. Is that correct? Or was this not budgeted at all? Did we not know?
It comes out of IT's budget, so I can't
IT's
speak
budget.
to.
It was IT's budget, not police and fire.
That's correct.
Is this a program a 5-year program? Is this?
So this contract would be to go to the cloud for 3 years, and then it would
3
be a
years.
year-to-year contract after that. Yes, sir.
So it's a one-time payment, though?
We would pay annually. Currently, we pay a maintenance fee of around $189,000. That would go up initial first year to $269,000, or I believe it's $264,000, if we can sign that before September 1st. The payment goes up, though that discount is due to an Amazon Web Services server discount.
3 years?
Yes, sir. So that would be each year for 3 years. So it would go up about $120,000. I believe the third year is $312,000.
So do you know, Chief, do we put it in your budget for 2026, I guess?
It's my understanding it would stay in IT just simply because it involves them dispatch, the fire department, and the PD.
And Mark couldn't be here tonight, but I'm thinking there's some offset in some of this.
Yes, sir. So we will not be paying the maintenance fee from now on.
That
That'll be
$189
integrated.
we won't be paying.
Correct.
Okay.
Move resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other questions or comments, council? Anyone in the audience?
Essentially, this is what I was just talking about. It's kind of proving my point.
Please state your
Anyways,
name and address again.
Richard Koger, Springdale, Arkansas. I'll respond to all this on nwatruth.com, and I'll respond to anything that they say regarding the other flock safety and surveillance system, because it's going to be a propaganda campaign that doesn't match the contract. You have to read the contract. Worldwide, perpetual.
Let's not conflate a bunch of different issues. This is
Well, they're all
having to do with
connected. You have
Tyler
to read the
Technologies
contracts.
and this item.
Read nwatruth.com.
Any other questions or comments?
Spencer
Name and
Ordonez.
address.
Yeah, Spencer Ordonez, 508 Maple Drive. I'm questioning, have we sent out a RFP for other companies to shop around with solutions that might be a little cheaper or have a little bit better security?
My quick answer is this is a professional service. This is one, we shop the product and then we negotiate the deal. Because certain products we want to use, it also helps with interagency with other agencies in Northwest Arkansas. Go ahead, Chief. You got
So
something
to
to
give a little context to your question, I believe it was 2021 we implemented Tyler Software Solutions. They went through that entire process then. We already have this existing. I believe the contract back then was about $4 million to integrate it. So we're looking at an increase of about $100,000 a year to host it on their servers. So because we already have Tyler in place, It's what the surrounding agencies use. We're sticking with Tyler moving forward. Just, this would be the cheaper option, I guess.
What
is
kind of
what I'm
data
saying.
is housed and all that?
So it'd be our CAD, computer-aided dispatch, our RMS, records management, the fire department systems are housed on it. So really, everything that we do is housed within Tyler.
Awesome. Thank you.
We changed CAD. We were using a green screen for several years, and so this is a long-needed update. So, all right, anything else, Chief? Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Passes 7-0.
We'll let, hey, by next meeting, you'll be at the big table. Sorry about that. All right, item 10, Planning Commission report and recommendations, Sharon Tromberg. Sharon?
Good evening, Council Mayor. We are back where we left off from the 17th. Hold on. There we go. Had to turn it on. So we're picking up where we left off for Springdale's updated comprehensive land use plan. And let me go ahead and read the title and get that out of the way. A resolution adopting the 2026 comprehensive land use plan and future land use map for the city of Springdale, Arkansas, superseding resolution number 151-12 and for other purposes. And we walked through a little bit of it last time, the what, the why, the how. And so we wanted to revisit it, show a couple timelines, a few pictures, and really just answer questions if anybody has any further questions. Since we presented at the last committee meeting on the 17th, I've had, I think, 2 individuals who've reached out and actually met with me since then. We've actually, since that presentation, we've had more public comments than we had in the previous month. We got 2 today. So this was good. This kind of helped spark that conversation. But we're here happy to answer any further questions, show the map.
Could you talk about what those questions were and how they're going to be relevant?
Yeah, a lot of the discussion was about the breakdown. And this plan is not very much different from our current one. That is the base. We have a good plan. We had a great plan in place. We've just grown. So our plan needs to grow. It needs to account for the areas that we've annexed, the new roads that we've built, the new projects that have come. So we just built off the existing foundation. And we just made it a little bit more of a sophisticated framework because it needs to reflect, I think, some of the development that we're actually seeing on the ground in Springdale. And then just to break it up in categories, for this new land use plan, this is all the areas that we have identified as residential, and it was a third of the entire city that we still have hoped for residential. And a lot of it, it's important to protect that character of the existing neighborhoods that we have. The next one is commercial. And again, a lot of the new stuff we saw, we annexed Bethel Heights almost 6 years ago, maybe 6 years ago now. So we had to account for a lot of that. And during that time, we've seen a whole lot of new development and new projects come. So we had to account for some of the commercial, some of the new highways, 112. And then this one shows the industrial categories that we were looking at. And then we also identified some of our main corridors in the city, kind of the spine of the city that we really see some important areas. And there was one update that we did want to bring to your attention. Somebody, actually after the last committee meeting, this is good, it spurred a conversation. Somebody in this residential neighborhood came to meet with me, and it was pointed out that they requested kind of a modification, and I talked it over with Garver, and I think it's probably appropriate. We're open to it. So as you can see, this area that is white and hatched, that's along Chief Truman Brewer. So right now, I don't think I have a picture of the actual zoning, but right now, that area is zoned commercial because as those big warehouse developments came in, we required, city council voted to have a 350-foot commercial buffer along that road to protect that neighborhood. And so it was requested that the land use reflect the same, basically reflect what the zoning map does. And And then here's the categories that are broken down. Again, the residential, that's a third of what we're doing is that low-density residential.
So Sharon, you said a 350 foot, just going back to that one topic. So what could that be used for?
A small commercial development, right? Something a little bit lower intensity. So right now, some of those buildings, Keytronics, for example, those are large, right? You have a lot of parking that just comes with noise and traffic. So the commercial buffer, that's plenty of room, small cafe, small store, a low intensity commercial that would be more appropriate next to that neighborhood. And of course, the road, Chief Truman Brewer is there too, separating those.
You're kind of, it sounds like you're kind of talking about creating the ability to create a transition.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is. Because we know that residential neighborhood, Walden right there with the RL, the low density residential, they were there first. And the area and the land is now developing. We have 612 coming in. You can see where the blue line is. That's basically where the highway is going to be. So the area is changing, so we have to take a much closer look at it. And this provides an appropriate transition and a little buffer for that neighborhood as the area grows around them.
I move this ordinance be adopted.
Okay, we have a motion.
So that addition is reflected already, or is it going to be reflected?
It's going to be reflected, and so that's why I wanted to present it in case it was a modification that would be adopted. So far, based on the feedback, we got a couple comments today, actually, that people posted on the website we were able to see. And they were supportive and conversational, but that was the only actual modification request that we had, and we do think it's appropriate. So it's not reflected yet, but we would like it to.
So does the motion need to be
So
with the addition?
Randall, your motion would include that addition. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve. Other comments or questions with the council?
So Sharon, I asked a question at the committee, and I'm not sure about the response. I'm going to point you back at the intersection of Carly and Don Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not had the opportunity to go back and see how that fit. Was that area in our land use plan before, those two corners? You know the corners I'm talking about, correct?
I do. I don't have a perfectly zoomed in one, but they were captured. Are you interested in the change and what the current one says versus?
I'm wondering if there was a change from what was in the previous land use plan on those two corners. And just for clarification, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the corner, the northeast corner and the southwest corner of that four-way intersection, yeah. Mhm. Right now, it shows medium residential, correct?
It does, those corners.
In the new plan. I just,
Yes, sir.
is that what we had in the old plan? So maybe it doesn't matter on what it was before, but the question was, why would those two corners be picked out, I guess, by somebody to be medium density, for possible medium density? And your response at that time was something about infill, which, boy, is a big buzzword right now. Everything's infill. And, but my problem with that is that nothing around that area is medium density. Even the development on there, which it's not really developed, but there's homes. They're all single-family developments, single-family homes, I mean, or pasture land. So how is it that we could be suggesting to future development that it should be medium density?
Well, I think it's important to look at the resources that we have right now, right? So Don Tyson is an arterial, Carly is a collector. So those are big major roads. So we know that we already have at least the transportation infrastructure in place. So we don't have to go to sprawl, which is fine when new developments come, but a new development on the outside of town, now you have to build all new roads and bring utilities. So you look at an area like that, you say, well, you have major roads, you already have utilities, water, sewer, at least in the area. You already are fairly close to a commercial area, the Sunset
Everything around
Corridor.
there is single family, low density. Why are we encouraging medium density?
I will say that, single-family detached is also part of residential medium density. It just allows for, right, some smaller
lot.
lots, right?
Which is a fact of life right now,
It is, and I mean.
for somebody to be able to develop.
I mean, honestly, we talked a lot about what the current market is, and trying to find ways to respond to the market and to have a future land use plan that allows a little bit more flexibility for the future, right? So that you're not.
Do you agree with me that the land use plan is kind of a suggestion? It's kind of a suggestion from the city. It's kind of like we're suggesting that should be developed, medium density.
Yeah.
As opposed to the flavor of the neighborhood right now, what's the name of the subdivision directly south of there? I mean, that's kind of high-end homes.
At Willow Bend or?
Willow Bend, Willow Bend.
Yeah.
Timber
Ridge, I'm sorry,
yeah.
Willow Bend's to the south of that.
So I'm just not sure I understand how we could be making that recommendation or suggestion when nothing in that area leads me to that.
I think it was, I'm not going to put words in anybody's mouth. It sounds like it was we know we need more opportunity for that type of development. That has plenty of area, and I know the piece of property, Jeff, on the northeast has a lot of potential for proper buffering. I don't think you would see it.
And I totally get that, Mayor. I understand. I'm just struggling with the fact that it seemed like it ought to be a developer's responsibility to come to us and say, this really ought to be rezoned for medium density, as opposed to us suggesting it.
You're suggesting that well,
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but I mean, for the developer to be able to come and talk to you about, the rezoning, I mean, this way there's more flexibility on your side to kind of, to choose something more. or less
Except for the
dense.
fact, let's say a developer comes and wants to do medium density, and we were to say, no, we think this should be low density. Well, I've heard this argument for almost 30 years now that, if we go against the land use plan, we have to have a really good reason. And so if we put it in there, it's hard to go against it if someone asks for it to be that way.
I don't think you're putting it in there unless you think it's an okay idea.
Yeah, I mean,
But that doesn't, as you know, that doesn't dictate that has to be medium density. If I know of one potential that was going to be, it was going to be single family with even some commercial. It didn't pan out because the land sale fell through. But that may have opened our eyes to some other possibilities, and it's always, it's a no-brainer if the land use plan does have something designated as possible medium density. If someone wants to come in and say, well, we're gonna build low density, well, that's a no-brainer. That's not anything we'd fight against. Yeah.
It's agricultural right now, isn't it? And it's zoned agricultural. Yeah.
Probably.
So it could possibly be anything.
We have a motion and a second. Are there other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience? Yes, sir.
Smart Cloud, 4189 Savannah Lane. I live in Southwind Terrace, which is just down Don Tyson from this location. I think the point of medium density or this whole conversation is, you know, I bought my house in 2004 on 0.3 acres for $200,000. There is no way that anybody's buying anything near this location for $200,000 in 2026. So I think the ideal for the staff, the city, planning commission, other people who are looking to do infill, which all that means is, can we just build within our already existing city limits? Is that possible? Or do we have to go out to Gravette, Gentry, Tiny Town to build subdivisions? I think it behooves the city to try to build it within our city limits. So this rezoning, looking at this, is to make it easier for people to actually develop nice houses, because they're gonna be $450,000 homes, no matter what. If it becomes residential, that's what's gonna be built there. That's what it's gonna cost, no matter what size the lots are. Medium density, low density, SL4, 2, 1, whatever you wanna call it. So I think the idea is, we would like to see that land developed, because it's already on artery and a main thoroughfare. It's inside the city limits, so it's going to be cheaper for the city to keep up with it, and plus it allows other people to live close to all the amenities that I'm able to live close to and can afford it, hopefully. So that's the point of this. That's what the future land use plan. And I do say this, I think city councils should either be for or against the FLUP in every city up here, because the one thing we don't need is to, as a city, promote certain activities, certain zoning, and then have city council go backwards on it because one of their friends called us, I don't want that there. I mean, we see that. I mean, I work in Bentonville. I'm a commercial lender, so I look at lots of things to finance, and I see it all the time, and it's awful. You know, for a city, and I think we do it better than others, we all have to be on the same page. We all have to be going the same way. So either we support people building homes inside our city limits, or we don't. And that's what this really is for. Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. I'm gonna call for the vote.
Passes 5-2.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Okay, did we get a second on the emergency clause?
So why is there an emergency on this one? Is there already a
There's
pending
not.
deal?
It's for other purposes, but there's no emergency clause on it.
No emergency clause on it? Okay. Somebody want to withdraw their motion?
I'll withdraw that motion.
All right, thank you.
Unless we want to make it emergency. I'm ready to.
Sorry, I was writing on the one below it.
All right. Find my place. Now we're going to move into some of our planning commission items. All right. So these next items, B and C, for 403 Wayland Drive and Maple Drive, 3rd edition subdivision. So B and C are kind of together. They're part of the same project, so I'm going to kind of talk about them and present them together. So this is exciting because this is actually an area that we just expanded our seed district with the form-based code update in May. And so what this is, we have a rezoning to seed as well as a replat. And this is the ultimate goal. So let me go ahead and read the titles of these. For the rezoning and ordinance amending an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning FB 26-10, certain lands located at 403 Wayland Drive and the parcel east of 403 Wayland Drive from a medium-density multifamily residential district, MF12, to a Springdale Elective Enhancement District, SEED, Neighborhood Residential Type 2, and declaring an emergency. And for the replat, which just takes this large lot and splits it into 3 separate ones. The title of this, an ordinance accepting the replat, RP 26-09, of Maple Drive, 3rd edition, lot 1718 to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. So what they want to do is they want to replat this lot into 3 single-family home lots, basically to achieve this. And with the seed district, it will allow that. We heard it in August. Planning Commission passed both of them unanimously.
Is that in on-street parking or is it parking in the rear?
They are gonna have, I think it briefly shows it, they may have both. So that pink right there is going to be parking in the rear, so the houses will be a little bit closer up front. But they are doing street improvements with this project, so there may end up being some on-street, I'm not sure.
And this is in compliance with our form-based codes.
It is. If it was in the existing zoning, the MF12, you might get one duplex. Maybe you could do a lot split and do two. So the C district allows for this to now become 3 single-family homes.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience? Okay, call for the vote. City
Passes,
attorney stepped out, you got it? Okay.
passes 7-0.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
We have a motion and a second on the emergency clause. Any comments? If not, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
All right, Sharon.
There was a second one, we do the replat?
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for that ordinance. And any other comments or questions? This is the replat. Anyone in the audience? Call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
And this is because of pending action, correct?
They do. They are ready to split the lots and start building and go to permitting pretty soon.
All right.
Excited.
Call for the vote on the emergency clause.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
All right, moving on to the next item, D. So this is another downtown form-based code C District 1. This is over on Velma, south of Cottle. The title of this reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning FB 26-11, certain lands located at 504 East Velma Avenue from medium-density multifamily residential district, MF12, to a Springdale Elective Enhancement District, SEED, Neighborhood Center Type 2, and declaring an emergency. I don't have a site plan, and I believe the application indicated pending items, but I can't confirm exactly what they are for this one. For the pending items for this one, we don't have anything submitted as of yet, so I can't confirm any.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Got a motion, a second to adopt the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience on this one? Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Move
All
the
right.
emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
You got a motion, a second on the
I don't
emergency
see
clause?
how we could have an emergency when we don't have anything, we don't know what the emergency is.
For 504 Velma, do we have anything pending?
Come on up to the mic, sir.
Yeah.
Get a name and address, please.
Or else they wait 30 days if we don't have a reason to pass an emergency clause. So I don't know if you have something pending in the next 30 days for this sale or.
Yeah, so there's Ross Caphart, 417 West Maple Avenue. we've got a couple of different site plans for this particular lot that we're actually going to talk to Sharon about tomorrow. And so we're going to have to go through the non-large scale process, which is going to take a little bit of time. So 30 days is
30 days is no problem?
not a problem.
Okay. And you want to withdraw that?
Sure.
Okay.
2 for 2.
Thank you for your
2 for
willingness.
2.
Okay. All right, no emergency clause on that. Sharon, before you go on,
Yes, sir.
in the IT booth, I got a text that the sound on the live feed has gone out. So if you can check on that, please do. Got it? It just happened just a few minutes ago. All right. Sharon?
All right, the next one we have takes us over to West Huntsville. The title of this reads, "An ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning R26-20, certain lands located at 1511 West Huntsville Avenue from a low-medium density single-family residential SF2 to a low-density multifamily residential MF2 and declaring an emergency." So this was one that we heard back in May for Planning Commission, and we had to wait for verification of the legal description, which is why we're bringing it to you now. And as you can see, there's a couple, this is next door to the couple duplexes that was
This is
developed
just
this
west of
last
those
year.
two newest ones that have been built.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And those look really nice.
They really
by
do.
the way.
And the MF2, it's the same density allowance as an SF2. It just allows for a different building type. It allows for that duplex.
Move the ordinance pass.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience? All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Does this have pending action?
It does. He's been waiting since May. They are
Move the
excited to
emergency
get
clause be
started.
adopted.
Okay, motion and a second on the emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Yes. Passes 7-0.
All right. Next item takes us north on 71B to Benton County.
This is item F, correct?
F.
Item F. Okay.
Yes, sir. The title of this reads, "An ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning R26-35, certain lands located at 4876 North Thompson Street from a general commercial district, C2, to a thoroughfare commercial district, C5, within Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency." And this one, we feel that this is an appropriate rezone from C2 to C5. This property has long been used for outdoor display, and so this is really coming into compliance. We do not have a development plan quite yet, but we've been working with some folks that are interested. So the first step is rezoning, and as you can see, there is a lot of movement planned for this area in the coming years. From my understanding, they have an intention to improve the site, do some upgrades and modifications, and this would allow for some outdoor display.
So will future access to that site be just off of Graham?
Well, they'll
Will there
actually
be-
have a few, so they'll still have access off of North Thompson.
Oh, they
They'll
will?
have
Okay.
access off of Chief Truman Brewer if they got a driveway.
I thought
And then
maybe it was
Graham
too
Road.
close. Okay.
You can see that little kind of cul-de-sac, right, that Graham Road. So technically, they'll have a driveway there. So there's a lot of potential for this piece of property in the future. But C5, we want in big thoroughfare areas. That's where you do the outdoor display by big roads, and that meets it.
So what is our thought as far as taking C5 it's pretty deep off of Thompson, all the way back to Chief Truman Brewer? What are our thoughts as far as the property along Chief Truman Brewer? Are we thinking some of that's going to be C5? Is that just to the south of this property?
The property just to the south, we just had a development there, McFryer Building Warehouses. What's the trades and service uses? With trades and service uses, an office warehouse and trades and service, McFryer Building, a Bill McClard project, was on the property just south of that. Did they have any outdoor display? And so the one to the south, the Bill McLeod project, is a C5 that does have some outdoor storage.
Property that's shown on here that's kind of to the southwest.
Yes, sir.
It's already C5.
Mm-hmm.
Are both of those to the south C5 or just the one on the west?
Definitely the one on the west. I can't, hold on one sec. There you go.
Oh,
Oh my
yes, they
gosh,
are.
I apologize. I have to guess. So it's C2, so C5 are both the ones on the bottom.
Okay.
And the one to the south, they split the lot and then rezoned it, so that one has access on Chief Truman Brewer and the other one has access on 71.
Is there any opposition?
Move the ordinance be adopted.
It was unanimously approved if you're.
I'm looking at the right one. I don't know about residents' comments.
So did you say that we don't have anybody coming in right now? It's just the person who owns it is wanting to change it?
Well, we don't have an official development plan submitted, but we've met with some interested people who are under contract for it for sale. And their idea, they tend to get property ready. So I don't think they have a specific tenant yet that will lease it. But I think there's a certain category of tenants that they look for with outdoor storage. So they're looking to see what potential they could do, what improvements and modifications to find out what tenants to be able to attract.
So Sharon, I know it's just a rezoning, but from the picture that's on our screen right now at the bottom of the page, it shows rezone from C2 to C5, and it also shows variance from paving requirements. Is that something that's pending?
It was tabled, so the planning commission tabled that variance because they did not have a development plan. We appreciate and we want a development plan to accompany a variance so that the planning commissioners know what they're voting on, what the variance is going for. So it was determined, that was tabled. They were asked to come back with a more complete plan, so we've been having meetings with them, but they were comfortable with the rezoning going on.
From what I've heard, we've got a motion, but I haven't heard a second. We now have a second. Other comments or questions? Anyone in the room pertaining to this item? Okay, call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 6-1.
All right, Sharon, item G.
It's got an emergency clause. Is there?
Do we want the emergency clause? I heard you say,
Their variance was tabled, so they are coming back to planning commission. They have not submitted something yet.
sounds like we don't necessarily need it.
Correct.
Okay. All right, let's go on to item G.
Next one, we have G. So this takes us over to Don Tyson to the east. The title of this, an ordinance accepting the replat RP 26-06 of Jacobs Crossing, phases 2 and 3, lots 90, 91, and 107 through 109 to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. So for this one, Jacobs Crossing, which is a single-family residential subdivision that had been approved and final platted, and the developer wanted to come back and basically rearrange the configuration is what they did. So they took a common POA lot, and now basically some of these lots have larger area now. It's this middle part right there in the middle. So this is what, I don't think I have a previous picture. So it previously had a common POA lot in between and behind all of these.
Are they eliminating any amenities that were agreed to?
other than this common POA lot.
Green
But it was in I think it was determined that it was kind of in an awkward place since it was behind the lots.
It's probably also determined that if they make lots out of it, they can do more with it. You think? Okay.
Well, but that area faces a street, doesn't it?
That southern lot?
No, the triangle area, that was the common area. That they're now putting in lot, well, I can't even tell what number on the picture, but they're basically making that a bigger lot by including that in with the lot to the west.
Correct.
And that triangle area was a common area, which did face a street, I think, isn't that a street that?
It didn't. It was kind of hidden back there, but it had an access easement through that southern lot that led to a street.
So that's not a street?
No. If we're looking at the same thing. It was sort of landlocked.
The original one's in your packet.
I think it's easements, yeah.
So basically, it wasn't being used for anything like parkland or anything like that?
Correct. From my understanding, they came back and they said, I think it would be a better configuration if we changed it.
Okay. So are we increasing the total number of lots with this move?
No, I think we're just the
Okay,
configuration.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Question on the vote. Everything else is 9 votes typically. When was this one ran through, with it being only 6-0?
It was a previous June. Sorry, I'm looking at my staff who might remember it. June or July. We tabled it for a month because actually one of the items to vacate some of the easements, we wanted that vacated properly before we went ahead and presented this replat to you.
I think and I may be remembering this wrong, but I'm thinking this is the one that first came through as a SF3, and then they came back at SF2. It was denied, it came back at SF2.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience? All right, we'll call for the vote.
Yes. Passes 7-0.
They do have some stuff pending.
Merge clause be
Houses are being
adopted.
developed.
We have a motion and a second on the emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Yes. Passes 7-0.
All right, thank you. All right, and now we are going to another replat for a single-family neighborhood south of 412 over off Turner. This takes us over to Henson Heights. That's probably the best picture of it. So the title of this reads, an ordinance accepting the replat of Henson Heights, Lot 12, RP 26-11, to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. So
Is that the
for
old-
this one, they
Is
are
that the
taking.
old Turner Baptist Church?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is that the
Yeah.
old Turner Baptist?
Yes, sir. So they're replatting one large lot into 9 for additional single-family homes in the neighborhood with the appropriate zoning already in place.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Anyone? Anyone in the room?
I have a question.
Okay, here, we've got a comment.
Ben, do you know if we requested the extension of the drainage easement on on, further east on Henson that we talked about?
I spoke with the design engineer about extending that easement, but officially through no channels other than it is in our staff comments.
I'm not sure I understand the answer. I apologize.
Okay, let me shorten it for you.
Okay.
Yes, we talked to them about it, and it is in our staff comments, but is not shown on the plat yet.
We will get it or we won't get it.
Well, we won't sign it without it. So yes, we'll get it.
So it's something we're still requesting.
Correct,
Sounds like we're required
correct.
to sign it without it.
Is that not right, Jason?
Jason Apple with A4. Yeah, we'll extend that easement.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Ellis Gregory. Mr. Mayor, thank you, City Council, City staff, my community. Just wanted to.
Give us your address, please.
I'm sorry, 4315 Alma Street. So, again, on August 14th, my neighbor Troy and I met on site with the planning department, the city engineer, and two of our council members to walk through the property and discuss stormwater drainage concerns tied to the site. I want to summarize what we learned both from the meeting and from the engineers' engineering and soil reports associated with this application. I believe that you all had received this information. Each of you, I emailed each city council member this. Mr. Mayor, I did not email this to you, but it should have made it into the packet. And so just for this moment, I'd like to read this aloud and make sure that this moment is captured so that we can refer to this moment in the future, just in case some negative consequences to our decisions today. Okay, so what's true about this site? So we know from the replat and the soil assessment that this soil is hydric. For those that don't know what hydric means, it means that the water table sits approximately 0 to 7 inches below the surface. It's likely that the sediment will migrate down the roughly 70-foot slope from Don Tyson Street down towards Henson Street and settle in the stormwater ponds over time, reducing the volume and they can effectively manage. On my own property at 4315 Alma, this is deposited roughly a foot of material into our utility easement over the 5 or 6 years, enough that the gas company had to come out and raise the meter. And so city staff's response to the ponds are designed to evaporate stormwater, but that doesn't address the pond losing capacity sediment buildup. Stormwater from homes along Alma Street, that will be lot 2 and 3, I believe. Currently, they're set to be discharging into the street adding to the volume that's already reaching the intersection of Henson and Alma. This is an intersection that has no funded drainage solution today. A previous plan to address drainage at Henson and Alma was developed decades ago, funding set aside for, but it was never implemented, and this is something that I'm trying to figure out why that never came to be. However, what concerns me about the replat handling that reality, under the current plan, homeowners, not the developer or the city, are responsible for maintaining the drainage easement, including the pond bottom. Failure to maintain it leads to a code violation. Then the city performed maintenance billed to the homeowner, and ultimately a lien could be put to the homeowner itself for not paying for the city's service to that cleanup to the drainage easement. It's not yet clear who would be responsible for the maintenance obligation if their homes are sold or operated as rentals. And this is a real possibility that we actually didn't discuss in some of the meetings that I've had with my council members and with the planning department as well. Comparable stormwater pond installations in the harbor area of town include landscaping and aesthetics that the site plan does not include. And so just to kind of drive a point home here, this is going to be a pond that is going to be on the facing facing Henson Street at the frontage of these homes. I don't know where else in Springdale that has actually been implemented, and it hasn't had a net negative to the property values that the current residents are enjoying at this moment. And so I acknowledge that the replat and the existing stormwater drainage at Henson and Alma are being seen as two separate issues. I understand that logic, and it's one of land use. It's a land use decision in front of you tonight. The other is an infrastructure problem that predates this application by decades. But there is a relationship between this replat and the existing situations of this area of Henson Heights. But I'd ask you to consider this. Approving this replat doesn't leave that second issue untouched. However, it narrows your options for solving it. Right now, before this replat is approved, the land is in the area is still open. Once these lots are platted and homes are built on them, the physical space available to fix the current drainage issue, additional capacity easements, and different pond configurations, whatever the engineering evaluation ultimately recommends, is constrained by what already has been built and who owns it. You can't put a larger detention solution where a house already stands. Every year this goes unaddressed, and every acre that gets developed without a resolved drainage plan is engineering flexibility that you don't get back. So while I understand that they're procedurally two different items here, I'd like you to treat them as connected in practice. The decision you make tonight affects how solvable tomorrow's problems remain. With that in mind, I have a specific ask. On August 14th, city staff agreed to conduct a proper engineering evaluation of the drainage problems at Henson and Alma. I want to thank them for that commitment, but I'm also asking council tonight for something more concrete as an agreement in principle. Specifically, we'd like to understand the defined triggers and mechanisms for monitoring and routine maintenance of the ponds by the city. A defined timeline for when that evaluation will begin and be completed. And additionally, a commitment to consider funding of a solution in the next fiscal year's capital investment plan, contingent on the outcome of that evaluation. Furthermore, I think that there's been some due diligence around confirming whether a curb inlet at Henson Alma Corner would be included as part of that drainage solution being evaluated. I'm still unclear what that conversation was between Mr. Watson and Ben, yourself, about that. I wasn't able to conclude what the outcome of that was. I want to be clear that my neighbors and I welcome new residents in this area. My concern that future buyers and renters understand what they're taking on here. And that the city not approve a plat that knowingly passes an unresolved drainage problem onto both new and existing homeowners. I'm not asking you to deny this replat tonight. I'm asking you to recognize that approving it without those commitments risk foreclosing the very solutions the neighborhood needs, and to make sure this council is on record with a timeline, not just an intention before that door closes further. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
So I guess the ponds he's talking about are running along Henson Avenue and then go into that culvert right there.
Yeah, they go into the drainage system down Turner Street and eventually across Springdale Golf Course.
There's been a water problem down there forever. Do you think that'll take care of the water problem, in your opinion? Because I fought that for years. It's been back in the 90s, it was a water problem down there.
You'd have to define exactly which water problem you're talking about, because the drainage across the golf course is going to continue, and I know that that's been a problem for the golf course in the past. The drainage structure in Turner was designed in 1999 by McClellan Engineering and is adequate to handle all of this area with this development included. Yes. Henson Avenue is a dead flat street that does not drain, and this subdivision neither fixes that nor makes it any worse. What it does do is allow this pond that's being built on the north side of Henson, gives us a place for the water on Henson to be directed to, which would then puts it in the Turner Street system and gets it out. So this development will help us with the solution to the current problem, which is Henson doesn't drain.
So Ellis, in response to my question to the engineer, as I recall the conversation, I asked, we were having a discussion about the corner, the southeast corner of this property and whether it was going to create a problem at that corner. And I asked at that time whether we could require the developer to build retaining ponds further to the east. And I believe the engineer suggested he didn't think we could. And so I said, well, can we at least ask for a drainage easement in case we do create a problem, or there is a problem that's created there, that we'll have that option to come back and fix it, if we have to fix it. And we would, if we had to come back and fix it, we'd have to have a drainage easement. So that was my question is, did we ask about the drainage easement extending to the east? And now I'm being told by their engineer that that is something they're at least agreeable to. That doesn't mean they're making any changes. They're just going to go ahead and provide that easement in case we have to come in there and fix it later. Do you agree with that, Ben? Is that pretty much how that conversation went?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve.
Oh, I had another question if I could. Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Ben, I still don't understand what are we going to do about this 90-degree turn on the drainage through the middle of the property?
Yeah, I think you're talking about the backs of the lots. The lots that front Henson, it indicates a 90-degree turn. That is one of the staff comments that we've got to work on that ditch alignment. So there will not be a double S curve there in the drainage.
Something is basically your answer mean something has to be figured out how to handle that?
Yeah, we're going to have to look at it. It's a very small ditch. It does not convey very much water, but it is important that we not have 90-degree corners because even in a small ditch, you'll end up with erosion and problems. So we want to realign that slightly, but I think the drainage easement that they're proposing gives us adequate room to make that happen.
And Ben, on that also, just so everybody knows, those detention areas and the drainage has to be in place before anything else, any other construction.
Yes, those need to be there. And as far as the maintenance of the pond goes, all detention ponds in the city are inspected at least once a year, if not more often. And then if any siltation happens, the city is responsible for removing that siltation and getting the pond back to its original capacity. There's a foot of freeboard built into these ponds for siltation and for mathematical error. There's also a rain event that's larger than the 1% rainstorm, which is what we require anything to be built to. So maintenance is just a normal part and parcel to having a detention pond.
Yes, sir, if you have a question, come on up.
Thank y'all for hearing this. Roger Ickey. I'm at 100 East Andrew Avenue. I'm not real sure if I agree with the water drainage that he's talking about, and this is why I say I live 2 blocks south of there, so I'm not as close as Ellis is. However, I can tell you Randall Harriman's yard is in my backyard because he lived up the street, a couple of houses, and that water is constantly carrying soil, which is an issue I didn't think about. But I do know this, they talked about being 100-year flood in there a couple of years ago in our house. It usually drains very, very well. We had about 5 inches of rain in about an hour and a half. I know that's an anomaly, I get that. But the water was at my front door. I had a squeegee. I'm not at my front door, I'm sorry, at my garage door. And I was squeegeeing the water out my driveway. So if that rain happens just up the street where Turner Baptist Church is right now, those ponds are not going to hold that water. And that water is going to be in those people's houses below. Yeah, there is an issue there. And I think Rex said, there's been an issue there for a long time. I've lived it for 20 years and I know. And I'm responsible, and Randall can tell you, for cleaning out that waterway that runs behind my house. And what Sharon said, she's here to kind of ensure the integrity of whatever of our neighborhoods. Well, we certainly want to do that. Nobody's against homes being built in there. They want them to represent the value. Well, we probably have a wide variety of homes in our neighborhood, 300,000 to probably over 1 million. I know they're over 1 million. On Lake Road, they're over 1 million right down the street. So we just want it done well. And, we don't want to say, oh, there's an issue, and it's going to be like pulling teeth to come back and fix it. Now's the time to save the money and do it correctly. And so I just appreciate your time.
Thank you.
For the record, Coach Lester dammed my yard, so it was Coach Lester's yard that went into yours.
All right, any other comments or questions? Please come to the microphone if you have another question.
More of a kind of clarification.
Okay.
Name's Rick Tribino, 4301 South Turner. My property adjoins the property that's being in the planning stage of development. Gentleman, I don't know if I'm understood him when he said that if, with this engineering of the ponding and collector, that Henson wouldn't experience any flooding, or it would help Henson.
I'm gonna let Ben word that he didn't say it would. I heard it won't make it worse, it won't make it better, but then I also heard it sounds like there's an opportunity to help.
Oh, okay, because I was just kind of wondering if.
I'll give Ben another shot at that, because I may have heard it wrong too, and yeah. Can you clarify that a little bit, Ben?
Yeah, so this subdivision will not make Henson suddenly drain. Henson is a flat street and it will not drain.
Yeah.
But because there's a pond on the north side, there's now a place to take the water so that it doesn't sit in Henson. It sits in the pond and then flows out into the drainage system of Turner. So you're right in assuming that it's not going to fix all of Henson's problems, but per our ordinance, it's not going to make Henson's problems any worse.
Okay, so it's not technically, per se, adding to the problem that Henson's experiencing now.
Correct. It's actually intercepting a little bit of the water that's currently going into Henson and putting it into the drainage system underground before it gets a chance to go into the road. So slightly better, but not fixed, would be my answer to Henson.
Okay. And then can I address your drainage and stuff on the north side of the property? I can't really, I guess, between 1 and 2, 3 and 4, then coming down south, and then 90. What is the basic width of that drainage easement?
I think it's 20 feet. Jason, do you remember? Yeah, 20 feet.
Okay. And I mean, my concern as you got it drawn up as a 90, all right, coming down as a 90 and then going back west and then coming back down farther or straight line south is probably a redraw of an angling. So there isn't no, the reason why I say is the flow of water that comes through my backyard from Connie and Jim's, that's north of me, and Kim and Chet, and then there, I got a big swath of water when it rains hard. And that's not, and that's just about every year. And we're not experiencing, like the so-called 100-year plan or whatever, but it coming down and then right butting into it and then trying to make a 90-degree turn.
Jeff, is that what you?
It's not gonna work.
Go back to your question.
Yeah, that's what we talked about earlier is that.
I mean, I'm not an engineer, but I just, if they,
They're gonna have to fix it.
if they kind of diagonal it down from 1 and 2 down into where it's supposed to meet on, what is that, 6 and 7? And so, I mean, it would help the flow.
Sounds like they've
That's
decided,
right.
they recognize they're gonna need to fix those 290s.
No.
And they think with the additional, easement that's being acquired, they'll have room to do that.
Oh.
Did I hear that right, Ben?
Yeah, I don't think we need additional easement in that area. The additional easement will be in the southeast corner.
Okay.
Near Elm.
We've already got the easement we think we
I
need.
think that 20-foot easement is enough to take those double S curves out and turn it into something that is a little more moderate that will convey the water without having to turn a hard turn.
Okay, I mean, that's what I was made it and stuff is, want to get a little bit, I wasn't sure if I missed it, as misunderstanding that it would solve Henson water's table that it's sitting at right now. Because, I mean, without putting a collector and to usher it off, because from Turner to Croxdale, when it comes down to Elmet, that's both of them drain back down to that intersection. So it's not like Henson's absolutely flat. It's actually a lower spot between Turner and Croxdale. I think it's Croxdale. And stuff that, so it don't have, it more or less relies on, dry time and stuff. Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Is there anyone else need to speak to this in the audience? All right, I'm gonna call for the vote.
No. Passes 4-3.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
No, I'm gonna need to vote on that, I
Yeah.
think.
Yes. that's
I'll be the
right.
fifth vote. I'm in favor.
Passes 5-3.
Y'all have just witnessed one of the few times a mayor can vote in the state of Arkansas. It's to be the fifth vote for passage, which is required for passage. Otherwise, the mayor does not vote, have a vote. There is an emergency clause on that. If you got it, Randall? Motion? We have a motion and a second also on the emergency clause. I'm sorry. Thank you, Saber. All those in favor, say aye. Never mind. No. Sorry. You've really got me messed up. I went back in time, didn't I? All right, call for the vote.
Yes. It fails 4-2.
Mayor cannot vote on an emergency clause, so there you go. There's another thing tonight.
All right, we are moving on to the next one, and this is just north of a brand-new, beautiful fire station, number 10 on Wagon Wheel. The title of this reads, an ordinance accepting the final plat, FP 2607, An ordinance accepting the final plat, FP 26-03 of Lex Estates to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. And for this one has taken a little while, but it's finally complete, and it's a really nice development just north of the fire station, right off Wagon Wheel and Robbins. So this was originally rezoned, I think, when I first started with the city. They proposed a preliminary plat in 2022 that got approved, and so this is the final plat from that one. They went through a couple iterations. So there are 18 lots. This is SF1. And Planning Commission, we approved this unanimously 9-0 at the August meeting.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience on this one?
Question. Is looking at the very south east portion of this plat, is that a common thing for a circular drive to end right at the boundary line? Is that common like that? It looks weird, is the only reason I'm asking.
It does. We have the representative engineer. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Mr. Swope. I don't know the reason, or I can't speak much to that.
While you're answering that, yeah, I'm about to say, what is on the other side of that line right now?
To the south?
South,
Yeah, that's just the end of the property.
cul-de-sac.
Yeah, that's just the end of the property. Yeah, usually you cul-de-sac will end a little early and then the lots will surround it. In this case, just the way he wanted to configure that and the way the detention lays, it just made better sense for the size lots he wants.
I guess my question was basically what the mayor asked, does that create a problem to the property to the south?
Maybe I'm not following. What kind of problem would that cause?
Are there maintenance issues around that cul-de-sac when the cul-de-sac butts right up against the property line?
No, I mean, we're dedicating right away the right distance around the outside of the cul-de-sac, so I think it'll be fine to maintain.
Do we see that other places being? Help us.
We used to see this a lot more often. Under our current planning, we require that subdivisions like this stub out in the cardinal directions. So this would be a stub to the south, have a stub to the east, a stub to the north, and a stub to the west. This was preliminary platted so long ago that it predated that. And so because there's a detention pond on the southeast side, I think they just didn't see any benefit. They couldn't create more lot yield by creating it shorter, so they took it to this point. That gives them that lot on the southwest side. Doesn't really cause us a problem in the future.
I think the original Dick Smith had a cul-de-sac that died there, and then when it opened up with the new
It's
subdivision.
connected now, yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience need to address this? All right, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Move that the emergency clause be adopted.
We have a motion and a second on the emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. And we are continuing on with the single-family low-density residential subdivisions tonight. Next one takes us over to Northwest Springdale. The title of this reads, an ordinance accepting the final plat, FP 26-07 of Chapel Grove Phase 1 to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. And this one for Phase 1, we've got 13.3 acres, providing us 18 single-family lots, as well as detention and community mailboxes. The preliminary plat was originally approved in 2022, and it came to, it was a 8-1 vote at Planning Commission. And I apologize, the preliminary plat was in 2023. Guess I should show you the plat, huh? So the part that is grayed out is not Phase 1. We're just considering Phase 1 this evening.
So does everything in Phase 2 that's grayed out, does it go to that detention pond in the northeast corner?
I think, correct. I know that we have a representative if you want to answer any further detailed questions. They're going to know a little bit more than I. And the way that I introduced it, I just want to correct it, that this one for Phase 1 is 36 acres, and we have a total of 61 lots, 58 that are buildable. I just want to correct that.
Hi, Lillian Bryant with OWN. Yes, everything drains into these two detention ponds, and it's split about at that middle road running east-west, going to the north detention pond and then to the south detention pond.
What is all that along the western side of this plat?
So there are quite a few utility easements on the west side, and some overhead electric that's running through there. We also have, the two ponds do connect, and there is a channel that runs down the west side along one of the drainage, or one of the utility easements.
So who will be the owner of those properties?
The POA. Mhm.
Is there a requirement for a POA?
There often is because we have the detention. Not necessarily a requirement for a POA, but it's almost the standard operating procedure because a development is going to need a detention area, and that's often a shared responsibility. So we just saw that replat from Henson Height where the detention was the responsibility of each lot. And so this is one where when it's a community responsibility, it's usually a POA that is set up, especially for a subdivision this size.
So the big detention on the west side's already in. I mean, it's being utilized right now, so somebody's taking care of it.
Yes.
It's the established POA.
The developer is currently, as we're finishing phase 2.
I move the ordinance be adopted.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Any comment from the public? Okay, this will be a call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 6-1. Passes 6-1. Rex voice voted yes.
I move the emergency clause be adopted.
This will be a call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. All right. On to last item K. This is a waiver of street improvements. This is taking us over just west of 71B. The title of this, a resolution approving a waiver, W26-35, of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and streetlights, as set forth in ordinance number 3725 to Lincoln Drive Warehouse in connection with L26-13, a large-scale development. And I believe we actually may have a handout to distribute. We have a couple pictures here, but I think the representative may have a better exhibit to show you. I can pass them out for you if you want to. This first one, yep.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mary Salmonson. I'm with Kimley Horn and Associates. With me here is David Friesner with Trammell Crow, representing the developer side. We just wanted to provide this exhibit to help support the waiver request and clarify what the waiver is really asking for. So once everyone has it, I can kind of walk through it a little bit. Perfect. So on this exhibit, you'll see two colors, a green hatch and a yellow hatch. The green hatch are improvements that are going to be dedicated to the public, built at the expense of the developer. So that includes several thousand linear feet of water main, sewer, storm, all that will be dedicated over to SWU. It also includes several thousand linear feet of brand-new collector roadway. In addition to that, as part of the collector section, which includes sidewalks and trees, adjacent to proposed Lot 1 on the south side of the larger viewport, you will see sidewalk and street trees that are being built adjacent to the LSD that is building the rest of the public improvements as well. This waiver is only an ask to allow that the sidewalks and street trees that would be adjacent to lots 2 and 3 that are not part of the overall plan yet. We're just asking that the sidewalks and street trees adjacent to those lots and behind the back of curb of the new collector street that our project is building be built at the time that those lots develop, just to allow for better flexibility on where the trees and sidewalks align with access points, and grading improvements, et cetera. Anything to add, David?
No, again, I think a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I think we learned in the planning commission that the way that it was worded and the images that we had, though they were technically accurate, may not have told the full story. So we hope that this demonstrates the fact that we are developing a significant amount of public improvements, and the waiver is very limited in what we are asking for, only to give flexibility to those future developments.
So what is the actual waiver? Because we've got sidewalks, we got light, we got.
All we're asking for is the sidewalks and the street trees, which are highlighted in yellow, at the locations highlighted in yellow. Every other improvement. The sidewalks and the street trees that are highlighted in the areas in yellow, but all other improvements in those areas are being included in our development and highlighted in green.
So the yellow areas are what we're asking to waive.
To waive, and again, not permanently waive it, only push it to the LSD submissions for those future projects.
So basically, you're asking for a letter of assurance.
No, we're asking for a formal waiver for the, I guess, LSD that we have going through, which is for the property to the south lot 1, which, as you'll see, all of the required improvements along that lot line are being developed.
I guess maybe and I thought I was all familiar with this, and I know it's a great project for Springdale and all those things. But kind of to Mike's question, I may have missed something, but what is there to ensure that as further development happens, because it's already been waived? So Sharon, how do we waive it until such a time that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, our understanding was that the LSDs for those 2 lots would still have the same requirements that all other LSDs have, and so.
So they would have to improve
They would
at
have to
that
come in,
time.
those will be garnered under, or I guess, handled under the LSD.
So this
submissions for
waiver
those
would
lots.
not impact the ability to require that future development to comply with the standards?
Yes, sir. So this is not a platted subdivision. So each development that comes in on a land would then be responsible for theirs. So they're asking for a waiver in that whatever next development approaches Springdale, thank you, I'm sorry, I'm throwing things at you, would then be responsible for their share of the street improvements.
They're asking for a waiver of these 2 lots, though, period.
So these street improvements, are they curb and guttered?
Correct.
I think the area on North Thompson, that's a 8 or 10-foot walk, is that? 10 foot. I personally think that needs to be installed. That's, if I understand correctly, that is highway right of way, is that correct? And you had to get a permit from the highway department to access that road, is that correct?
That is correct.
Ben, you and I had a conversation about that today, I think. The highway department is building a sidewalk on their portion.
Yes, we're participating. So when the interchange is constructed here, there will be a 10-foot trail built on both sides, and we are paying the bill for that 5-foot to 10-foot expansion. And I haven't seen the drawing that you all are looking at, but engineering's suggestion, we're in favor of the waiver for lots 1 and 2. The only concern we have is on 71, because we're paying $600,000 to create the trail with the interchange. We'd like to see that connect now, sooner than later. And then the area that I call the billboard area, which is north of the yellow road up here on the screen, that is adjacent to Highway 71, because that property is likely never going to develop, and therefore no sidewalk would be built if we don't get it built at this time. So in favor of everything south of the yellow road, not on 71, and in favor of everything on the lot to the north. We would like to see the area by the billboard be constructed now, No trees, just the sidewalk, and then what they have for their frontage.
I will say, that's also new information based on what we had discussed. We had to present this based on the waiver as it was written and as it went to planning commission. And those are, I guess, that section, although it is in front of the billboard, is platted as a part of Lot 2, so it could be handled with the development of Lot 2. But we definitely can take that into consideration. We had to present what was already submitted.
Is that clear to everybody? Y'all?
Where's Lot 1 on this thing that you handed out?
Yeah, so Lot 1 is on the south side of Lincoln Drive, planned south side of Lincoln Drive. It's right here.
This paper is kind of, it's north is down. If you're, yeah.
And Lot 1 is the development of the warehouse project.
The property that's being,
Yes, we had to reduce it down to kind of fit it all on one page. But yes, where you see the parking lot cut off, that is a part of our warehouse project. And that Lot 1 is building its sidewalks and street trees with the collector.
so only waivers that you're requesting are on this page?
That's correct.
Which is
Yes.
primarily along what you've labeled roadway A.
Correct, yes. And then
Okay.
what would be the west side of Lincoln Drive or the planned north side of Lincoln Drive as well.
And again, I'm sorry for going back over this, but basically you're wanting to get a waiver of having to put a sidewalk along roadway A
Sidewalk and street trees, yes, sir. We'll
and the
be-
tree, yeah.
And the trees, yeah. We are installing street lights.
But there would be a street improvement.
Yes, a full
Just-
collector
you're-
roadway.
You're just hoping not to have to build a sidewalk along that roadway. And then the engineer Ben asked about sidewalk along Thompson, right?
Mhm.
And are you asking for a waiver along Thompson?
It is currently in their waiver request, yes.
And Ben said, well, we're already working with the highway department to put in a sidewalk there anyway. But then the question became, and I didn't understand
Be
this
south of there.
billboard thing that you talked about. Where are you talking about there?
So there's a billboard that exists north of roadway A, right adjacent to Highway 71.
Are you talking about just barely north of it where you don't, like you said, you don't have a,
It's called out in the exhibit.
it says existing billboard?
Correct, yes, sir.
So it's just that very small part of, and why are you suggesting that they should have to do a sidewalk there, Ben?
Because that land's never going to develop, so no one else ever will.
But, and the highway and us, we're not working together for a sidewalk there?
Not along roadway A, because that will be a city street when this is dedicated.
Be outside the highway department's right away.
Oh, I see.
They are building it up to the end of their right away.
Oh. Oh, okay. All right.
And that area is considered a part of proposed Lot 2. So it is technically per the plat on their lot.
So you're proposing that be done when Lot 2 develops?
That's just how the waiver was written initially, yes, sir.
So we'd be handling that just like you're requesting we handle the rest of the yellow?
Yes, sir.
Again, I pretty much, and now that that picture's up, it makes it a lot more clear.
Yeah, you can
on
compare those two
Lincoln-
pictures and it
On
helps.
Lincoln Drive, and I don't have any problem with the waiver on roadway A, but I do think the sidewalk needs to be put in on North Thompson. They're gonna put sidewalk in on the development that's gonna be done, correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
And then whoever gets on the other side, according to Sharon, that they'd have to put in a sidewalk or come to us for a waiver.
the development that's being planned, the east side of Lincoln, the development side of Lincoln will have sidewalk.
That is correct.
And the other will develop when those lots, that makes sense. One clarification, and Ben, I need your help on this. Talking about, you mentioned that the sidewalk on, the property that fronts on Thompson, south of the billboard, will likely never be developed. But then you all said it's part of Lot 2, so which is it?
According to the plat, it's part of Lot 2.
Does that give you any assurances, Ben?
Well, he's correct in that it is part of Lot 2 currently, but once you dedicate the right-of-way for roadway A as a city street, based on my history, the property owner to the south is gonna say, I'm only doing the south side, you can't make me do the north side. And so we're splitting this by putting a public road through the middle of it, whether we call it a lot split or not.
Do you have just eyeballing that, or do y'all know what the distance is of that, the improvements along Thompson?
The improvements along Thompson?
That you're asking to be waived, the sidewalk along Thompson.
The sidewalk along Thompson is probably about 350 feet.
Okay.
We are building that decel lane on Thompson that's hatched in green as well. And then there's a ditch adjacent to the decel lane to continue the flow coming from the south and headed north. So then the sidewalk would be farther into Lot 2.
So if I can say this correctly, I'm going to make a motion for option 1, except for the area on North Thompson, to exclude that from that waiver. Does that make sense?
To me, do we need to state that a particular way?
So I wanted to get a clarification from Sharon. It says it was a recommended denial, 5-4 from the Planning Commission. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Sharon, if I may.
Yes, please, Garrett.
Mark, it's not technically correct. I'm not to disagree with Sharon, but technically what it was is they made a motion to forward this with a recommendation of approval, and that failed. And so down at Planning Board, they either move to recommend approval, or in the alternative, they move to recommend denial. There was no motion to recommend a denial. So I know this is kind of confusing, and we've had a lot of discussion about, but really what that is there was an individual that made a motion to recommend approval, and that motion failed.
And we don't want to come before city council with no recommendation from planning commission. So we're trying to find a more efficient way to process that.
So,
Is Brian's motion, is that correct enough that we, basically, he's saying with option 1, everything excluding the requested part of Thompson, waiver on Thompson? Is that right, Brian?
Sidewalk only, no trees.
Yeah,
Sidewalk only.
Okay.
so I'm confused, Ben. I thought you said that the city and the highway department were teaming up to put a trail or sidewalk or something along Thompson.
So from their property south, so where the new interchange is going to be constructed,
And then also with Brian's motion to agree to waive everything except the yellow part along Thompson, that doesn't take care of the billboard area, does it?
it doesn't, no.
Can we require that if we were to do what Brian said and require the sidewalk along Thompson? Can we not make them extend it to the north line of Lot 2? Can we not do that?
Sure, you can.
I mean, seem like we ought to. Why would you cut it off there and not take it all the way to the lot line? Especially with you saying odds are whoever develops is not going to do that side of the street.
Right, I think you and I are saying the same thing. I think Brian is saying something different.
So do you
It's
see
his
what I'm
motion.
saying, Brian? Can we not make that part of,
Extend to the lot line, just north of
extend the
building.
sidewalk to the north lot line, yeah?
So I'll amend the motion to add extending the sidewalk to the lot line. On lot 2 on the north side of this roadway.
And I'll second that.
All right. I actually understand that. Are y'all, everybody else okay on that?
I have a question. Was somebody representing Kimley Horn?
Yes, sir, that's me.
How come north is at the bottom of the page?
Well, we rotated it that way so that way it could fit on the sheet at a decent scale that's readable when we printed it out at 11 by 17. We wouldn't normally make our plans like this, but is
Yeah.
an exception.
Yeah, it really helps putting it with the picture IT brought up also. So then you can make sure you're turning right. Okay. All right, we do have a motion and a second to approve. Wait, I want to be sure I'm saying it right. Y'all know what it is. With option 1, yeah. And, but excluding a waiver of the sidewalk on North Thompson. Okay. Any more comments or questions? Does anybody in the audience need to speak to this? All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 6-1.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Item 11, I'm going to turn over to our city attorney.
Okay, item 11, I'm going to read the title. It's an ordinance vacating and abandoning a utility easement pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-301-301 et sec, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. So this is related to the petition to vacate the utility easement that we had the hearing, which was item 6 on, and obviously nobody showed up and opposed it, and so that's what this is.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience? We'll call for the vote.
Yes.
That passes 7-0, and in regards to the emergency clause, the basis for it is that there's a pending replat that they're held up on.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
All right, item 12 is also our city attorney.
Okay, item 12, I'm going to read the title, is an ordinance authorizing the city clerk to file a cleanup lien for the removal of overgrown brush and debris on property located within the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. And so this is related to 709 Success Avenue. We gave the property owner notice of their unsightly condition, and code enforcement went out and abated the property because they didn't do it themselves. The costs are outlined in the ordinance. It's a total of $596.24 plus a 10% collection fee, and all the required statutory notice was given to the property owner.
Move ordinance pass.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Other comments or questions? Does anyone in the audience need to speak to this property? All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
All right. Item 14, comments from council? Comments from department heads. Chief, you want to go ahead?
Thanks, Mayor and Council. I'll be respectful of your time. I wanted to touch on a few things that have to do with ALPR's automated license plate readers. As you know, there's a lot of misinformation that's gone around publicly. I will say that Flock has not done a very good job combating that. I think their PR strategy has been severely flawed, and I had an opportunity to tell them that the other day on a phone call. Additionally, there have been departments around the country that I don't feel have put adequate controls in place to govern the use of Flock. Maybe they're not conducting audits. They may not hold their officers accountable, and there's just been sloppy police work. So I want to kind of explain what guardrails we've put in place, what's a little bit different. The handout that's going around right now, what I would like to do is kind of lay the foundation with some facts, talk about what we do real quick, and then go through this walkthrough and then answer any questions that you guys have. And obviously, if you have questions while I'm going, please stop me. The legality, a lot of people claim that ALPRs constitute a Fourth Amendment violation. It's just not true. You can disagree with that. You can disagree with the fact and think, well, it's an intrusion, and it absolutely is. It's not a Fourth Amendment violation. The courts have long held that there is no there's no expectation of privacy in public. Where the public can be, the police can be. Where the issues come in with case law and where we think case law is going with this has to do with the density of the network of cameras. And so, for example, and I'm pulling this off the top of my head, and I think I'm close, but somewhere around 85 signalized intersections in Springdale. And I think we're at 4 or 5 of them, which is obviously not a high percentage of our city's intersections. The rest of our LPR cameras, we have 10 total, and I'll talk about the other Flock cameras that we do have. We have 10 license plate reading cameras through Flock, and they're placed at various intersections. Sometimes you have 2 cameras at an intersection, but you're looking at 48th and Elm Springs, 48th and Sunset, 48th and 48th and Don Tyson. I want to say if we don't, we're going to have one at 71 and 264. There's one at the northern entrance and southern entrance to the city limits on 265. We've got them spread out for a reason, strategically based on some data that we pulled throughout this project. So, I'm sorry, sir. We don't so we've had 4 cameras vandalized or stolen, and as we're putting them back up, we've decided to relocate a couple of them. So, under our policy, we keep a tight range. State law only requires that we submit an audit to the state every 6 months of searches, and it outlines pretty specifically in the statute, and I'd be lying to you if I told you I could quote that off the top of my head, but our policy and our practice is just verbatim out of state law with what we report as far as our ALPR readings on that. So the law allows us a pretty wide berth with what we do as far as what occurs in public. But what we actually do is nowhere close to what we could do. Reason being, we don't want to bump up against that line because of the intrusion that it causes on people. Data retention as far as Flock's concerned, it's my understanding that Flock is hosted on Amazon Web Services GovCloud, which will be the same thing that our Tyler system, along with numerous other systems, are hosted on. Data is retained for 30 days maximum. We're reevaluating how long that data is retained. I'm sorry, 30 days. 30 days. So state law gives us the ability to retain license plate data for 150 days. We felt that 30 was much more reasonable. And again, we're going through a process of reevaluating that right now. Where I could probably say that our policy is turning into a living document as more information and more audit controls come forward. We're constantly reevaluating that to make sure that we have proper guidelines in place.
Chief, I thought one of Flock's responses to all this, these questions was, I thought they were cutting back on their retention period.
So they recommended 7 days. We had a meeting with them about that, and that was based on some data that maybe wasn't as inclusive as they thought it was or they portrayed it to be. We're looking at our data in-house when our searches come because there's basically two different kinds of searches. There's a search that a detective would do in relation to a case that would have to be typically the case process. If I filed a report today, it could take up to 7 days for that report to finally get assigned to a detective. And so with that, if that detective decides to go into Flock, that data would be gone at 7 days. So that's something we're reevaluating. There's several departments across the country that are talking with Flock about that 7-day period. They base that, my understanding, off of immediate searches. They're looking for a shoplifting suspect, or they're looking for an immediate threat, not investigative. And then some of the other information hasn't quite come out yet. I guess they're introducing an investigative mode as well. So after 30 days, that data is gone. The only exception to that is if it's evidentiary and part of a case in which we download it from their system and put it in our electronic case file. So now it's in our system. It's still purged from Flock's online system at 30 days. So if we have a detective that doesn't get around to downloading it at 30 days, it's gone, and there is no getting it back. I think we've run into that a couple of times on some more minor cases. Some of the value that has been provided, it's proved to be valuable in cases having to do with human trafficking, drug trafficking, shootings, homicides, other violent crimes. Stolen vehicles have been a big one. We were talking the other day about how it seems, and I couldn't give you exact statistics, but there for a while, we were getting alerts on stolen vehicles 3, 4, 5 times a day, and we were recovering 3 or 4 or 5 stolen vehicles a day. And it just seems like we're not getting vehicles stolen anymore. And we're trying to kind of look into see what the cost, I can't attribute that to Flock, but it's certainly not the issue that we've had. Missing and endangered persons, people in a mental health crisis, people that are missing, people with Alzheimer's, we've been able to use it in those cases. One of the biggest things is multi-jurisdictional cases. As you all know, Northwest Arkansas is like one big city. And so criminals don't necessarily live in Springdale, conduct their business in Springdale, do their crime in Springdale. They do it all over. As an example, last week we had a burglary. My understanding is they had the description of a vehicle, a 4-door passenger car. They might have had a darker color on that passenger car. We got an alert, a plate read from Flock about a black 4-door passenger car on an adjacent city that has the system. It just so happens that vehicle tire had the tire blow out. The vehicle rolled over in an accident, caught fire, and burned up completely. The officer that got there happened to know about our case, recognized a couple of items in there, and called our detectives and said, "Hey, could this have something to do with you?" They checked Flock, they went back to Google Maps, ran a timeline, and were able to match up that car fit the timeline of we had it leaving Springdale on a camera and entering the adjacent city, and that timeline matched the timeline of the crime. They were able to get into it today. The vehicle's obviously burned pretty badly with the help of the fire department today. Had to have some of their special tools to get some seats and dashboards out so we could get to the stolen material. But it was several $1,000s worth of jewelry, and they were able to recover most of that jewelry today on that through the execution of a search warrant. One thing I'd like to do is start going through the handout. So what I did is I did a step-by-step walkthrough, and that's what you're looking at right now. The very first page is the very first screen that pops up. When I log into Flock to do a search on a license plate, this screen pops up that says you're accessing restricted information. One of the things that I learned recently was if you misuse Flock, you can actually have your ACIC, NCIC, your Arkansas Criminal Information Network access revoked for misusing Flock, even though it doesn't necessarily access that data. So this stipulates the laws and procedures that you're governed by when you accept those. The next page is our search screen. And so you're required to put an investigative purpose, you're required to put in a case number, and you're required to put in a free-form reason in there for every single license plate that you would search. There's different filters in there. You can adjust confidence levels and things like that, but I just kind of wanted to provide that image on there. The next page is from a different burglary. I believe it was a retail theft organization. And this gives some examples. We did make an arrest in the case, but I had blurred out the case number on this because there were some things still pending when I printed this out. But you can see the offense types, burglary or breaking and entering. There's a case number assigned to that, and it's whited out. You can't see it on the printout, but there actually was a 5-digit case number after the 3 zeros. Reason, looking for a suspect vehicle. I whited out the license plate, and then I realized that it's in the pictures on the last page. So there would be a license plate there that the officer would have typed in. You can see the date range that they typed this in. And then if you flip to the next page, this is what we see. So when I enter all that information and I hit search, this is what comes up. And so you can see the license plate number there. What we get is a picture of the back of the vehicle and a picture of the license plate. That far picture on the right, I did white out some things because that is a private flock camera owned by a business. But that is the information that we get related to that. And then if you flip to that last page, I ran the license plates of one of our patrol cars. And just to give you a better picture, I didn't think those truck pictures of the box truck came out that well. So I ran the tag of one of our patrol cars, and just to kind of show you the information that we get. So I have heard the same thing, that they do have video capability in this. We don't use that, nor do we plan on doing that. I think that's extremely intrusive, and that's not a path we're going to go down. I do support additional guidelines and regulations through the legislature. I will be working with them this fall. I've already talked with a couple of them about some recommendations. There have to be guardrails in place so this isn't misused. And real quick, I do want to talk about misuse. Several. I could not give you an exact number, but there are multiple in Northwest Arkansas and several across the country. So they don't tell us that information, so I would just be guessing if I gave you an exact number. Yes. So Arkansas passed a law that went into effect last year that allowed license plate reading cameras to be installed on private property. And so since then, several businesses have taken advantage of that new law to do that. And it's proven advantageous for reasons of fraud, theft, organized retail crime, and things like that. So when it comes to misuse, if you guys have seen the news lately, you saw that we had a former officer recently arrested. And there's some more information that came out today that we actually terminated him earlier this year for misuse of ACIC. Looking up criminal information and other information about people, trying to track them down. He did not use Flock. I kind of wish he had, because it would have been easier to catch him. One of the nice things about Flock's audit tool, it makes it very, very easy to catch misuse. Matter of fact, when I ran this tag for the patrol car in there because I didn't have a case number, it flagged it. And so we have to go in and clear that suspicious search out, or that abnormality. We have to go in there and clear that out. So that flags anytime somebody tries to get around the system.
So that would be part of the audit, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we have somebody assigned full-time to conduct those audits, but I also, because of how serious I take this, I also conduct audits regularly on the system in addition to the other person whose job it is to conduct those. So that officer that misused ACIC, what we got was a printout, and I want to say it was somewhere 2,500 to 3,000 pages that one of our investigators had to go through page by page of just data after data to finally come down with, I think there were 2 or 3 instances that we could prove that he misused it. It took him days to go through all that information. With Flock, we would have caught him in a matter of, with what he was doing, if he'd used the same information through Flock, it probably would have taken us 30 minutes to discover that there was an anomaly with his searches, to question him about it. So Their audit system is far and above, much better than any of the competing companies when it comes to auditing things. I'm not a homer for Flock, so I don't want to stand up here and sound like I am. They have rubbed my feathers the wrong way in a lot of things, specifically how they've handled their public relations and statements lately. But their audit tool is continuously getting better and helping us catch people for misuse. So we have somebody assigned full-time in our criminal investigation division, a supervisor. And so he regularly conducts, it's not like every Thursday at noon he conducts it, but he's looking at it almost every single day. And then I'm looking at it once or twice a week. Yes, and then the system is set up to where if it thinks something is off, it will actually shoot us an email and flag that and say, you need to look at this search. It's not fitting within the parameters of the rest of the department.
So you said earlier that it has video capability, but we don't use that, is that correct?
I've heard that it does. They have not contacted us about using it. We're not interested in using it, so.
What about voice recognition?
So that goes back to, we didn't purchase this, but they do have microphones that are able to detect somebody screaming in distress or gunshots. There's a similar company called ShotSpotter, and several cities do use that capability. We didn't think there was a value to it for us, so we don't use that. So we wouldn't be able to detect somebody screaming or a gunshot in that particular case.
So the only thing we use from this is a license plate reader.
So yes, and there are additional cameras, and I'm sorry, I forgot to get into that. So there are 14 other cameras. There are 8 pan tilt zoom cameras, and there are 6 what they call community cameras. Those community cameras are designed to essentially give to a business. We didn't do that. We didn't think it was right to spend taxpayer money giving cameras to private entities. So what we did is we got with Parks and Rec, and those cameras have been installed around the trails and the parks to supplement their existing camera system because there were some dead spots where it's provided value. For example, we had a shooting, Silent Grove Trailhead, and that was able to provide us some information about that. It actually caught a pretty heinous crime that happened the other night. On the camera, what Flock's software allowed us to do, prior to using their software, if a Parks employee had to look at the cameras, they had to physically drive to their office, log into their desktop, and view the cameras. What Flock's done is we were able to run a gateway to those Parks cameras. We don't have all of them, but we have several of them. And now at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're able to pull that up if they get an alarm at a concession stand or whatever. They're able to pull that up at their house instead of having to drive in from wherever they might live to view that on their desktop. So the pan tilt zoom and the community cameras are all live streaming. They don't do license plate reading. Pan tilt zoom, like PTZ. And so those cameras are able to move around. We can adjust them to look at different areas of where they're mounted.
Can you go into the data, who owns the data, those kind of safeguards?
Absolutely. So we own the data. Our contract explicitly states that the data belongs to us. It's owned by us. Even though it's held on that web server, it is still owned entirely by us. The part that was referenced earlier about them being able to use data, what that refers to is in our system, our data is used to improve our results on that.
Okay, so, but if you pull a license plate and say they got one in Fort Smith and they got a positive on it, we can't get that information and they can't get our information?
Yes, so if we choose to share with another law enforcement agency, which we have with local agencies, the way we have it now is we require that agency to have a license plate reading policy that is in adherence with state law. If they don't, we don't share that data with them. If they do and they get an alert on a license plate, they have to call us to actually get the picture of it. So it'll tell them, hey, this plate alerted in Springdale on this camera. They'll call us and say, hey, can I have that? It's relevant to this investigation. They have to fill out a form, a request for information form, and then they have to provide all the same data our officers would to have access to that data.
Is that part of the audit system also?
It is. Those requests come in individually, and so those kind of get audited as they come in. And then it would come just like a search where we'd be able to see it. So if it deviates from what our department normally would do, it would flag it as unusual.
So if there was some kind of an active event, say something in Fayetteville, and they got just a partial plate and that left Fayetteville city limits and came into Springdale, and they know it came through here and they lost them.
Mm-hmm.
So do they have to do a phone call request then, or is there something else that can be done emergency-wise? Or can they do it online and it's done? I want to make sure that I'm getting right in my head that you're doing a verbal answer to them.
In an emergency situation, absolutely. If they had a shooting or a homicide, and they said the suspect vehicle left northbound, here's a partial tag. If we find that, we're going to give that to them in an exigency, because that would be contingent on them being able to get search warrants and subpoenas and phone records and all that.
So if they say they did not have any partial plate, they just said a white Suburban or something like that, can you search that way as well?
You can search by vehicle type, so white SUV, four-door. You could type in landscaping truck, and it would look for a truck pulling a trailer with a lawnmower in the back, or pulling a landscaping trailer and things like that.
I don't want to oversimplify this, because I can get in trouble doing that. And I know there are concerns, but they're basically doing the work our police officers would do if they could be present.
That's correct. I mean,
They're public areas. They're specific to a law enforcement response. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief, if memory serves me correctly, wasn't there about 7 or 8 incidents that helped in investigations as you were setting up the flock cameras?
Yes. Roughly this time last year, I was sitting right over there, I believe it was June of last year, and there was a pretty big case going on, and we didn't have a single camera up, but Flock gave us access to their entire software package, and because of surrounding Flock cameras, we were able to get some pretty substantial leads on those cases.
Do we have one video in particular that's been going around is the cops pulling up on a tag that was a stolen car and it wasn't correct? Do we have something in place to make sure that the police verify that tag number is the same that's got the stolen vehicle before they escalate the situation?
Absolutely. So that's something I skipped over, and my apologies for that. We require our officers to verify. And so the way we look at it is that's a lead, that's just information. Before you act on that, you're required to verify that. It's a violation of our policy not to do that. So what's in that system can always be flawed. We've had that happen with ACIC and NCIC, where I can think of one instance in particular, a vehicle was stolen out of New Orleans, recovered, and they never took it out of the system. That gentleman came to Springdale a couple months later. An officer ran the license plate, came back as stolen. We pulled them over accordingly, and turns out it was that guy's truck. So that's a rarity, but we do require officers to verify before they take any kind of enforcement action.
So you made the comment last June that was sitting there. So we've had it for a year and 2 months. Is that about correct?
The software, yes.
Okay, so out of that, how many searches have we done on our system looking for something? 5,000, 10,000, what?
It's several thousand. I can get a number for you, but off the top of my head, I don't have one right now.
Okay, I promise, one last. You said there's a lot of businesses that have privately owned flock cameras on their properties. And do they have to give you access to them, or do they have their own personal logins for that? Just their cameras?
So yes, to both. They have their own logins. They don't get to view our system. Only we get to view our system, or a law enforcement agency that we've given access to view it on there. So the private businesses would have to authorize each specific camera for us to be able to view it. And then they can take that away at any given time. They can limit it to, I only want you to be able to see what happened today on our property. Or I only want you to be able to view what happens on the weekends when we're not here. But they have to explicitly grant us that authority to do that.
Which they apparently do, because that's how you got that one picture that you said was from a private.
Some do, some don't. There are businesses that have decided not to share them, and they said, hey, we've got it, call us if you need it, and we're happy to help, but we don't want you guys looking at it otherwise, and we can absolutely respect that.
I know Spencer's been wanting to ask a question. Y'all caught up for now? Spencer, come on up to the mic.
Name and address, Spencer Ordonez, 508 Maple Drive. I just want to say I respect the police. I really do. As we all know, we have a hefty migrant population here in Springdale. And one of the concerns with flock cameras is just being tracked. And with the heightened ICE presence in the area, there's a lot of fears and a lot of questions around these cameras. And we have a perfect example in Centerton. A lady just got pulled over at an immigration stop. She's a legal citizen, had a horrible interaction with the police up there. What are some safeguards that you have in place for those type of systems when there is a flag? The question was asked, but the way AI works is a lot of people get lazy with AI. They don't double check their work. It makes, when things are made easier, you're gonna have officers that take the easy way out. And so what are some trainings that you're doing? What are some results that you've seen other than the officer that obviously the news broke today about that, misusing police utilities and whatnot? So one of my questions, I have another one.
No, that's a really good question. I really appreciate that. Federal agencies don't have access to our information, period. I'm not too familiar with the Centerton case. I've seen what's been on social media, which is half the story. I don't know the other side, so I hesitate to comment explicitly on that specific incident. But what we have to do, and this walkthrough may help you out a little bit as I explain this. And so what we get when we search a tag, it comes back like that. And so when you look at those pictures, who does that vehicle belong to? Who's driving? How many people are in the car? You don't know. The only real information I think we've ever gotten of value beyond a license plate was one time there was a pickup truck that stole a bunch of stuff from a local business and had it in the bed of the truck. And it was another jurisdiction's camera that caught it from behind. And we were able to go, well, there's a bunch of DeWalt tools in the bed of that truck, and that's our suspect vehicle. So what we have to do, again, our officers have to verify those things. And how they do that is by having a law enforcement purpose to run that tag through ACIC or NCIC, which is what we do. And so if we have a stolen vehicle in Springdale, I can look in our system and it'll tell me, yes, that vehicle was stolen. But before I can take action on that, I still have to verify that it's still entered as stolen through the state or through the national system. And so our officers are required to do the exact same thing, which is it may not have caught up in our database yet, but the state database is instant real time, where ours is more administrative. And so hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, okay. And as far as like the pan tilt ones, what is the process in auditing who accesses those, at what time, what are the consequences if since they're looking at public, they're shooting continuous video, obviously there's children walking around, there's all sorts of things going on. What are the safeguards that are in place for that as far as like punishment? Because if you give the example of the officer that you all fired, like the damage was already done after the fact. So in my mind, it's better to not have the damage happen and do a little bit more police work than have the easy way of like having that solution and open ourselves up for litigation and whatnot if we end up in that road.
Sure. No, that's a great question. One of the things that we put in place are we restrict who can actually access those live feed cameras. And so our group of detectives and then supervisors can access them. We don't give access to everybody on that. We've restricted our search access on who can search outside of a certain radius of Springdale, depending on their current assignment. And then again, that follows in the typical audit process where we're looking for, why are you watching the park camera? Like, what are you doing? And so typically our officers should not be watching park cameras unless it's driven by a complaint or it might give us a motion alert at 2:00 in the morning. And instead of an officer physically driving out there, that supervisor could go, okay, let me pull this camera up real quick while I'm at my desk. Oh, it's a squirrel or a dog running through there that tripped the camera instead of somebody driving out there. And so, or they can say, hey, there's somebody breaking into the concession stand right now. We need to get out there. And so that's some of the safeguards we put in place on that.
And then as far as like the contract is concerned with Flock, is there not an option for us to create a closed loop system that isn't managed by a third party? That way, because in the past, there's been cases where actual Flock employees have been able to access city cameras and watch people, track people without the city even knowing it. And those are documented cases. And so there's really no assurance that Flock can give you that that's not going to happen again. And so once our contract is up, why can't we just switch to like a closed system that SPD only manages and SPD owns every single bit of that data that we know for sure?
In theory, I think that's great. It would be extremely cost prohibitive. And just to give you a current example, this Tyler New World package that the council so graciously passed tonight, that is currently hosted locally. And our servers are 10 years old. It's extremely expensive to upgrade those servers. You're looking at hiring a substantial amount of employees to not only keep them running, but they have to be available in public safety around the clock, which is another issue that we've run into since we moved to Tyler. The demand on the city, I couldn't give you a cost. I just know that it is extremely cost prohibitive.
Has it been researched?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the infrastructure, which is why we propose to go to the cloud now instead of investing in more servers. And there is a need for local servers for a lot of the things that the city does, but specifically to what we do, being able to access it remotely. If we have a major incident pop off, we have a natural disaster, Chief Holt and myself need the ability to monitor that situation if we're out of town or whatever, or somebody to be able to monitor that system if they're not on scene. And so local servers are extremely expensive. The staff that comes to maintain and house them is extremely expensive. From a continuity standpoint, we're currently trying to find a different example, but if we have a tornado that wipes out City Hall, all of our computer systems that are currently housed here are done. We're gone. We're in the dark ages. Currently, because our servers are so old, we're having to go back to pen and pad. For the amount of call volume that we do, for the expectations of the legal system on our end, it's just not feasible to try to take that on and build a hardened structure.
Well, you could
with
have a
that.
solution like AWS servers that SPD is accessing only instead of it going through like a third party.
Okay, I can.
There's some options out there that are what you need, but it doesn't go through a third party. It's just you're purchasing it straight from Amazon Web Services.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is purchase server space from that. Then we have to have the engineers on staff. So, and I'm completely out of my depth when I'm talking about computers, but this is something I've talked to Mark, our IT director, about. And it's extremely cost prohibitive to that because now we're having to hire programmers and engineers to update and keep that stuff running. Even if we bought server space, we would still have to develop and manage the software, so.
This would just be a comment to the council. I know like the people I've talked to as I'm campaigning absolutely do not like Flock, do not like the intrusiveness in the mindset of it.
I would be curious how much information they actually have.
Yep.
And it's incumbent upon you and everybody else to make sure we're not lumping Springdale, the city of Springdale, into some things we've seen all over the country.
Yeah, and I get that. And the flyer passed out has a lot of sources, a lot of precedent when it comes to Supreme Court decisions on reasonable expectations of privacy when you're out in public, and that it's all there. But I just want to thank you all. Thank you for the answers and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, Spencer, I want to assure you and everybody out there, I've gained great comfort in knowing how the chief and our department is doing everything they can to protect privacy. The other side of that, and there's always a tension, there's always a give and take. And the other side of that is I also know instances around the country where people are saying, my God, why didn't they have some cameras? Why didn't they, you know, and I think in our public spaces, and again, there's no expectation of privacy in public spaces. There is not. If you can see it from a public space, there's no expectation of privacy, and I believe the Supreme Court has upheld that. So, but we'll always do everything we can to protect the privacy of our residents. But we've had property expensive, we've had, Ben, how many thousands of dollars of damage have we had at the restroom since Luther George Park opened? Several thousand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably 100,000.
So it also turns into a stewardship issue for the public when we have to spend taxpayer money to fix that kind of stuff. So it's incumbent, that's why we have I think we need more cameras in our parks. If I may have a different opinion about flock cameras or any kind of surveillance like that in public areas until my grandchild's taken, until something happens to my family. And I think we need to at least balance those things from a public safety standpoint. So I think I agree that we need to have those guardrails in place, and the way technology changes, and you know a lot, I can tell, you know a lot more about technology than I do. But as technology changes, we're going to find those gaps. We're going to find somebody who accessed the system who shouldn't have. And we're going to they'll be fired, and if they've done anything illegal, they'll be prosecuted. But in the meantime, you're right, the damage is already done, but that's how most things get found. We'll take every step we can knowingly take to try and mitigate those opportunities. But I guarantee you they're going to happen around the country, and they could happen in Springdale. But it's our response to that is going to determine whether we move forward or not.
Yes, sir. And I think the public would feel a lot better if, as I had proposed, that the SPD had a closed system that it was no question anyone could ever access that outside of the city. And so I think that's where the holdup is there are a lot of cases out there where Flock or Axon or whoever have had breaches that have gone into that. And I appreciate the clarification on only local municipalities are able to give access.
Right.
That can change. And so that, and I think if there's a solution in the future when the contract is up, maybe we shop around and figure out what a better solution is for the people.
And I think those opportunities will become more cost-effective, like everything in technology does as we move forward. So we'll always be open to anything that helps us better control what we're working with.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, Chief. I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, no, sir. You're in charge, so. No, the last thing I want to say
I'm just trying to, they told me not to eat the lettuce at Taco Bell. But anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and wrap this up if we can, but we want to get any more questions y'all have.
Yes, sir. One thing I'd like to say in closing is I can absolutely respect the fact that there are going to be people that don't support this. And as someone who's personally had their Fourth Amendment rights violated by a government agency previously, this is something I take extremely seriously. And so all I would ask is if people are not going to support this, they make that decision based off facts and not misinformation. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. We probably not heard the last of this, and you may get up and do that again sometime, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, I don't have anything. Does any of the rest of council have anything? Any more department heads have anything? All right, I would entertain a motion. Oh, city attorney, you have anything? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, Al. Thank you, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry, guys, we skipped one item about the next city council meeting. Committee meeting. I thought we talked about that. I think we moved it to next Monday, the 31st. Is that the second meeting in September? The second meeting in September is when the trip to DC is, and we'll probably ask that y'all move that to Wednesday night that week. Okay? Because there are several still going and several staff going.